Hi there, this is Ray with Easy Simple Mechanic, and today we're going to continue working on this Miller Bobcat 225G. We'll see if we can't get it going in this episode. But you know, 90% of you all that watch these videos aren't subscribed. So please do me one favor, subscribe on the video, and if not, at least hit a like. Thanks. Let's get to the video. While we were at it, we picked up this little kit. Well, it's basically the plug wires, somewhere around 10 bucks or so. So we'll go ahead and swap those, and then we'll go ahead and, since we know we have spark, I also picked up some spark plugs. I picked up a kit that comes with spark plugs. It comes with plugs. It comes with air filter, fuel filter, oil filter, and the spark plugs. So we're not going to put all that on yet. We're going to get the engine running because I might have to pull the carburetor anyway. But for now, I do want to put the spark plugs and the wires on because we're going to try and fire this up if it cranks. So let me get all that changed out real quick. You guys know how to take plugs out and stuff. So let me just change those. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the spark plug gap on these is important because the energy of these coils will determine whether you can fire that gap or not. So the one that was in there has a 40 thousandths gap, and the new ones I got have a 25 thousandths gap. If you look at the gapping tool, it's 25 thousandths. So what's the correct one? Well, if you guys need to know which is the correct one, on the side of the engine, if it hasn't been taken off yet, there's a little chart here that gives you all the specs for the different stuff. The spark plug gap is down here. Then there's the type of fuel, the capacity, all kinds of data's on here. How much oil you need, everything else. So be sure to check that. And in this case, the 25 thousandths is the correct. So whoever put the plugs in it the last time, they probably just took them out of the box and didn't check the gap on them and just stuck them in there. So those were gapped wrong. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in the new ones with the 25 thousandths gap. Okay, so we got our jumper cables hooked up there and our spare battery up there. So let's see if this thing cranks. Okay, now it's not going to start because I have the fuel hose pulled off because I don't want to get any old fuel in there for now. But also I wanted to check and see if the fuel pump and all the other fuel system works. So for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some fuel up in the carburetor, and then we'll see if it'll start. If it runs, then we'll get the fuel system figured out. Let me get some fuel hooked up to the carburetor. Okay, so we're going to spray a little fuel in this carburetor and see if this thing runs. Okay, we got that poured in there. Now we're going to go ahead and crank it over. Ain't got nothing, not even a sputter. So let's check and see if we still have spark, because before we had a weak spark. So now let's check and see what our spark looks like. We may have lost it, and then we'll go from there. Okay, well, let's see if we got any spark on the spark plug. We don't have anything. All right, well, I guess we're gonna have to start digging. Let's see, the next thing we ought to do is probably see if we're still getting power to the coil. So let me put this this test light up here. Okay, so we got the test light on the positive side of the coil. So let's see if we're getting power to the coil. And you can see the light comes on and off. So we got power there on the positive side. Now let's check the negative side of the coil, and we'll see if we're getting power, and it should be being interrupted. If it's not going off, if the power is just coming on but it's not going off, it may be inside the flywheel where the thing interrupts the circuit. So let's check that and see if, well, we got power. It's not completely interrupting the circuit, so I don't think it's allowing the coil to it's not triggering the coil to go ahead and release its energy. So we're gonna have to pull the flywheel off and check the gap on the flywheel and see if we can figure out what's going on there. All right, so let's dig into it some. Okay, so I pulled off the solenoid, the idle solenoid that was up on top. It's just 2 screws right here on top. Pulled those off. Now I'm just gonna pull the fuel pump here. It's just one screw holding this one. There should be 2, but it's only got 1. And then we're gonna unhook these fuel line and this fuel pump. Now the fuel pump has I'll show you here in a minute. It has a vacuum hose that connects to the back of it so that it uses engine vacuum to work the fuel pump. So let me get this off and we'll show you. Okay, so we pulled the screw off, and as we pull that out, behind it, you'll see here, there's a hose attached. So it's attached right there on the back. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna take some pliers right here, and we'll just squeeze the clamp and pull it off. There we go. There we are. So you can see there's the hose just sticking out there. And here's our fuel pump. So we'll just take it and set it aside. Okay. All right. So the rest, I don't know if I'm gonna bore you with this, but it's just basically taking all the screws off this shield. Let's just move the video along and try and get to what's important is getting this flywheel off. There's a couple of screws here on the back side of this shield that holds this linkage. So we'll just pull those off as well. And yeah, that one I'm gonna have to get a wrench or get a swivel. Okay, to get this out, is there's two screws here that hold the coil in. You can see those, let's see if I can point to them. Yeah, right there. There's one on this side, right there. Yeah, you get those two screws out, you pull the coil off, you get all these wires off the coil, and then there's one screw right there. You can, let's see, I'm trying to point to it right there. That one, you have to take that one off because that's part of the shield. All right, and then there's the screws on here, on the side shields. There's two here. Then over here, there's one screw in behind the shield here that has these wires, the little loom for the wires that holds that on. You pull those off. We already talked about pulling the one for the spring holder. Then the two on the shield on this side, there. Then you gotta pull the battery out of the tray. And then there's two screws on the bottom that you can get to from underneath this little shield here. There's two screws that hold that shield on. Once you get that off, then you can start to pull this shield off. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull that little loom off those wires, I guess, to get it to come. Yeah, because otherwise the wires, it won't let the wires loose. Yeah. So let me get that off of there, and we'll go ahead and pull this cover off and see what we find. See, we just have to get in here the screwdriver. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna need both hands for this. Once you pull the shield off, this is what it looks like underneath there. You got your wires going to the coil, and then you have, you know, these other wires that go there. This one wrapped in white, it goes all the way in there behind there for the pickup. And so what we need to do is pull the flywheel off so that we can make sure we have the pickup cleaned up and that it's actually working the way it should be. So now we'll see if we can get this big old bolt off the front here and see if we can get a puller to pull that off. Okay, so that takes the long bolt out of there. And what we'll do is I may spray something in there to release that shaft and see if we can get that flywheel off. So this is the setup I got. I got this steering wheel puller. I got that into those two screw holes. Then we just tighten this guy. I already used the impact on it, and so I got it loose. And then this just basically is a puller, and it'll just pull this guy. So then we gotta be careful not to drop this. I got it loose already. There we go. And so there it is. Uh-oh. What do we got here? Looks like we got some burnt windings on this little, I don't know if it's an exciter coil or what that is. Magneto. So, I guess this is gonna put a stop to this episode. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find one of those. So that's gonna do it for now. We'll check you guys on the next one. Well, folks, that's gonna do it for this episode. Please like, share, subscribe. And next time we'll continue working on this Miller Bobcat 225G. Take care. See you on the next one.